There's only 2 weeks left in the Challenger season, but that means that we do not stop. We got to cover all of the action from the LCQs from both North America and EMEA. We got to talk about all the Rostermania that's happening right before Challengers Champs, as well as a little bit of explanation on Challengers Champs and that format so that way you can stay up to date. All of that and more this week in Challengers. Of course, we got to kick it off with North America and the LCQ, and congratulations to Team War for taking home the dub. Yet again, that is Flames, Vic, Icons, and Dimensions. Icons and Dimensions, at the last moment, Enigma, they are going to be able to secure their chance at Champs. It's been a weird year for them. I guess we could say the same for Flames and Vic as well, but they're able to get it done. Obviously, this bracket, not super up to date. We actually will have to go back and check on what the score was, but they were able to beat a wee ball, the team of Arcides, Priesta, Rispy, and Peel, a kind of ragtag foursome there, but they were able to get that done in the grand finals. And I gotta say, this Team War roster, I think they're looking pretty solid, Enigma. And I think if you're any of those teams that's just kind of waiting already in that champs bracket, you maybe are looking at this team coming out of the LCQ and you're kind of thinking, well, hey, we kind of have to give them some flowers. We have to give them some respect because these are 4 players that have been around the block, right? All of these challenger players, they've played them before.
Yeah, it's weird. It feels like just like a ragtag team kind of brought together, right? Like someone assembled like the Misfits almost, and that's how it ended up here. Like we've had moments. I mean, I remember early on in the season, Vic had a stinker of an Elite 1, but he has had performances in and out through the year where it's been really good. We've been big fans of Icons through the years. Obviously, started the year on that Cabal roster, and from there has been kind of in and out of various teams. Flames Dimensions, they've had pop-offs. I forget what Dimensions roster was called at the start of the year that performed really well. And he was like the takeover player on that roster, but all 4 of them have struggled for some sort of like form, very much so kind of passed around all the challenger scene a bit. But it's a weird one. I almost wouldn't lean on the LCQ as like judging whether or not they're looking good because they've kind of cakewalked this. I think it's more that Paris Open. Their run was actually kind of insane. Now they beat Huntsman, Project Notorious, and Omit Brooklyn there on land. So, I mean, a great team. Obviously, losses coming to Bush and Torn, squads that they will see, of course, at Champs. But I don't know, man. Like, I think we gotta look at the groups. And honestly, I'm kind of looking at theirs and thinking you could do it. You could get yourself out of groups. In fact, I kind of fancy. I'm not gonna get ahead of myself, but I kind of fancy him to make the run happen.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. And I'm with you because sometimes when I look at this bracket, you know, it's I want to feel good, but it's kind of hard, right? So it's like they basically 3-0 everybody all the way through this entire bracket, right? And then, you know, basically their grand finals is the rematch of winners finals. Kind of has you wondering, would they have been able to do the same thing against that Falcons Academy roster that signed up, being Roxas, QK, Swooty, and King of Body as well, right? Maybe it's just a difference in play style, but there's definitely like a level of like, oh, we just 3-0'd you in winners finals. Now we're playing you in grand finals. We're literally not worried at all that you're able to have that same momentum and come on into it. So I think I'm right there with you. It's like they obviously cakewalk this LCQ. They make it look easy, but you kind of have to have that question. How do you perform against some of the top NA teams? And I love that you bring up the Paris Open because, like you said, it's like if you're thinking about teams who we're going to have to beat and we're going to have to get through, it's a lot of the names that you mentioned, right? Of Huntsman, of Omit Brooklyn, of P7, right? That you have to go ahead and you have to try and you're going to have to beat one of those big teams if you want to try and make a deep run. And the fact that you're now can have that experience from the Paris Open to lean back on, I think bodes very well for this War roster.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you place him 4th in the end, and like this is, I don't know, like the teams that beat you up, Bush, Torn, Omit EU, like right now, Torn are in the form of their lives. Like, this is a ridiculous run from this group. Bush, obviously being the Bush, they're fantastic. We're expecting them to make EWC, and then for Omit EU, this is a roster that is simply unstoppable at the moment. So to kind of put yourself in that company as a last second come together right now, that is putting yourself right up there towards the very top. I think anyone who does get them in the group or meets them in the bracket is kind of going to be like, damn, we got the LCQ draw of hell here. We wanted one of the ones from one of the other regions because, this War roster here to take everything. Well,
let's talk about EMEA a little bit, right? Because obviously we still have to, we had this LCQ is also rolling on as well. And we actually have Team Disarray, who is able to come back. Now, a little bit spicier on the storyline from this roster being able to come on through and take the dub here. Because if you look, they are able to kind of 3-0 their first three matches rather, and they go up against BTD in that winners finals. They lose in a 3-1 fashion. They drop on down. It's a game of 5 against the Whalers, I'm assuming. That's what the WAIL is. I'm making some strong assumptions here, but are able to take that game 5. They get back to grand finals, and it's just a 4-0 from them. Shout out to the Pit for giving us some stat lines here from that series. And you can see, obviously, Team Disarray being Kez, Hessian, Disarray, and Slade. That was there, but just some great games overall. And I know, this is kind of one of those EMEA teams that we haven't really talked about at all. It feels like this entire year. Love to see that they finally able to have some firepower behind them and take that win.
Yeah, it's a weird one because honestly, like, I know very little about Hessian. Very, very little. Kez been around the block for a minute. Disarray been around the block for a minute. It's nice to see them get to make their way to champs. They've often been players that are kind of on the bubble. They're kind of in and out of like those teams that are going to perform at the higher end of the elite. And in the MEA, you're either in the top like 3 teams or you sit in this weird kind of mid bracket. And that's quite often been the story of their careers, basically, for both of them. Whereas Slade is like an 18-year-old French guy who I don't know at all. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. Obviously, Squad UB, it's solid, but it's nothing of the caliber that you're going to be walking up against at champs. This is kind of the EMEA curse, right? A lot of teams can look great over there, but then now you're getting the practice and the reps against the quality of the team. We just got to wait and see. But obviously, winning grand finals in 4-0 fashion is probably the best way to make a statement. And again, you never know. We've had a year where like players have come out of the woodwork that we've never really spoken about before. Your Wevies, your Skills, your Kips, and so on. A lot of these players have kind of been like, or literally brand new. Blade could walk up and step onto like a huge stage like that and suddenly prove that he's got an incredible ceiling like a DK or an Ethan and take this team to another level.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only about when you get to the Challenger champs. It's not only about, obviously, everybody wants to win. Obviously, everybody wants to make these great runs. But there is a little bit of personal sort of pride that you have to have when you're going into these events. Like you said, for a player like Slade, I mean, when you're kind of talking about EMEA, there's some French kind of powerhouse rosters looming that could kind of come together. You make a name for yourself on LAN against some of the best in the world. Well, that's a lot of stock that now gets put into you, right? So that could definitely, in next year, even if you don't perform well, if you go up against one of these tough teams and people are like, yo, that Slade kid was just like, he was such a tough kill in order to have, or like, he was ripping, he was shooting. That's stuff that players talk about, right? And that is an opportunity to kind of up your stock here when it does come towards challengers. So, man, I mean, our 2 LCQ teams able to both make it out of the gauntlet, help rounding out our bracket that was there. And I think what's great for me, Enigma, is that it's 2 teams that are not just kind of throwaways, right? They seem like 2 teams who could definitely have some power to them and definitely won't be walkovers in the bracket. Now, listen, it isn't Call of Duty with a little pre-champs Rostermania, okay? And a lot of this, admittedly, getting caused by the CDL. There's always this nice little trickle-down effect where as some of these sort of mid-pack and bottom CDL teams going into champs maybe are trying to pick up some challengers just for one last maybe honeymoon phase that you peak at the right time and all of a sudden make the run. It can always have this impact on challengers. So this kind of all kick-started essentially by Aluka, right, getting picked up and going to the Falcons. Now, Aluka was rumored to be getting picked up and put on that Huntsman roster. Huntsman not very happy with that roster since it kind of coming into form. Now, okay, now we need to go ahead. We need to try to figure something out. Aluka goes to the Falcons, though, and now that leaves a new spot on the Huntsman roster. I think they wanted to get rid of Johnny anyway, but to have Aluka, they had to release Johnny, and now Aluka's gone, so now they're just left open with this big spot, okay? So this kind
Welcome to Challengers.
Welcome to Challengers, right? This kind of causes this big cascading effect that you can see here. Shout out CDC Intel for always helping cover a lot of this. So Johnny, having been dropped by the Huntsman, now goes over to P7 Notorious because, well, P7 now has an open spot because DiamondCon left P7 Notorious to go replace Dylan Rex on Omit Brooklyn, okay? So this is where you're starting to see, but now all of a sudden you're kind of getting down to all of these moving chess pieces, and the Huntsmen still don't have anybody, and it's not until the last final 5 minutes that they bring on Yuli onto the Huntsmen. So I don't know, man. As we kind of talk about a couple of these shifts and changes, and by the way, all of this happens, Bush, the only top 4 team to maintain the same roster, okay, that's there. So I guess just like talk to me, how do you feel about all of these changes happening right before chance? Any of these changes you really like? Any that you're not entirely sure of? Give me a nice little spit take here on how we're feeling about these.
I was surprised by Brooklyn's change. I felt like Dylan Rex has been playing pretty well recently, to be honest. Feel like, you know, DC's great. I just feel like it's a weird change. I just didn't see it coming. I think that's the one that out of all of them surprised me. The Rocky Sports one's funny. Obviously they've gone through shit like for recently.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Rock one that also happened too.
Yeah, start of the year, seemingly untouchable. They win in Dallas, second in Birmingham's, looking all great. Steve Vortex, who's been their coach all year, tweets out, "We decided the best player to replace Clocks was me." Which Steve Vortex, obviously a legend of the space, has more chips in challenges than pretty much everybody to ever exist. But yeah, Rocky Sports have just decided to go for a Hail Mary play here, a player who retired last year and is kind of going for it. But I think the Huntsman one I like purely from a team chemistry situation. Like, obviously, Johnny's a great player. They came third in the elite. Their LAN performances haven't been awesome. Top 12 in Paris in the end. But, like, I feel like there was almost like a situation going on with the Huntsman where it felt like a lot of the players were playing for themselves. And we saw a lot of this in particular with Johnny. Like, there was obviously that viral moment from Formal kind of breaking down his play that he made in Overload that was, not his best call. And also just seemed very much like he was just trying to kill Horde. And you've already got enough of that on that team. So it's, I think Yuli, he's a lot more of that underrated glue guy. The reason his teams have won a lot in the past. Yeah. I think, and I like the whole vibe change as well. It seemed like Johnny wanted to get the hell out of there. So I'm a fan of that one. Otherwise, though, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of sitting here a little bit like, whatever about things. What I will say, though, for all the great gas I'm giving Yuli, he also caused the team to, like, literally leave the scene because he was a naughty boy. Yeah. So, like, it's been weird, man. It's been weird.
I'm right there with you. It's definitely weird. I'm looking at this new P7 Notorious team. I'll be honest with you, I don't hate it. Obviously, I think Johnny, getting a lot of the flack for making a lot of those solo plays. This feels like to me still this P7 Notorious roster. This is a boom or bust type team. Like, they are either going to be so hot, take over every game, and it is just going to be hard to play against them. I feel like this team plays really fast. Just looking at Johnny, Snoopy, Eric Boom themselves, and then you're playing in S&D, right? We've seen even in S&D, Beans with a sniper in hand, he just creates so much pressure on these maps, and so it's really tough, and that's what I think this team might have in their back pocket. Feels like they might be able to play at a pace that a lot of other challengers teams aren't necessarily ready for. The only thing that has me worried, though, is that this feels also like a team, like, the second they meet some opposition, it's going to crumble in front of them, and they're going to find it really hard to find themselves, like, get back into a series, Well,
we've already seen this team kind of, like, mentally crumble, right? At one point, they were arguably the best team in challengers. I don't know if you can ever conclusively say that about a lot of squads, but, like, they were right up there. And then we had that moment in Atlanta where they crumble in the S&D. They then get bounced straight out of the open afterwards. And from there, they just have not looked even remotely the same side. So there's a lot of mental fragility in that side. And, I mean, hopefully Johnny can come in and do something different there. Obviously, this is a place that he wants to be. I don't think that a lot of people who supported the Huntsman would say that he would have that kind of impact on the team. But, I mean, I think I just agree with you. This is either going to go incredibly well and the 4 players are going to slaughter everything in their path, or it's going to go to complete shit. I'm hoping it's the former, obviously. Yeah. Like, Notorious are a great part of the space. But, I'm just a little bit nervous about, like, is Johnny the fix? There's basically 3 SMGs on this roster. I guess the NPC meta is just going to be king to rule things out. So maybe when you say pressure and pace, that's exactly what this team could bring and just literally slaughter everything in their path.
It does have me a little bit worried, though, I will say, because you are going to have these teams who have maintained the same rosters, who have been top of the brackets, who have made deep runs, right? Who now, listen, I hope you are scrimming all day, every day. Let me just say, if you are these teams, because there's going to be some of those rosters who have played together, who are going to have that chemistry, who are really good, who maybe might be able to expose some of those gaps in your communication, in your play style very quickly, right? And that's why I'm always just a little bit where we look at some of these teams, like the Bush, like others that are, have been playing together, who you might be going up against, you might be feeling good, and they're not going to let you just kind of skate on by, right? They're going to really make you have to earn it. That's there. So when it comes to, obviously, the 16 teams that we have playing at Challengers Champs, it's always really fun, and just to see a lot of these rosters make these changes so close, obviously, to Challengers Champs just over a week away, always has you kind of questioning, will it work out, or will it maybe be the decision they look back on and say, I wish we could get that one back. Now, we wanted to be able to explain the Challengers sort of Champs format to everybody. Now, if you've been following Challengers this year, this will seem familiar because it's the exact same format that the Pro-Am used back there at DreamHack Atlanta, okay? Now it's going to be the same thing here for Challengers Champs. So we're just going to, maybe it's a little bit of a teaser. Next week, we're going to go through each of these groups to really break them down, give our opinions, make a couple predictions on, kind of how do we think some of these matchups go, things like that. But we just wanted to use at least this Group A as an example. Yet again, shout out the Pit for creating these awesome graphics for each group. We'll be using them when we go through. But at least just wanted to pull up Group A just to kind of showcase how this sort of what we call a GSL style bracket works. So Andy, help me break down with the people, if you're looking at this, taking Group A as an example, how this is going to kind of work down, and how do we get from a group stage into our top 8 bracket?
Yeah, so you got to think of it as a bracket inside a group, basically. So the way you got it listed out here, and again, beautiful work from the Pit. Like they do great stuff all year long, but this is like this. If you walk away from this not sure how this all works, I got to send you back to school or something. So Bush, I2, they play against one another. Let's say Bush win that game. They move through to the next stage, which is where it says winner of WR1. Exceptional and War then play one another. Let's say Exceptional win that. I'm not picking that team for any particular reason. I'm just saying Exceptional move forward before I start getting DMs. Winner of WR1. The two teams that lose, they drop into the lower portion where it says loser of WR1. So you would have Bush and Exceptional move through. I2 and War would drop to the bottom. They would play against one another. The winner moves forward alongside that bottom side. However, on the above section where it says winners, essentially you would have then Bush plays against Exceptional. The loser drops down. Winner moves through to groups. And then it would be the remaining teams left in the bracket that would then play to see who gets out of the bracket. It's essentially, if you're struggling to think of the bracket inside of a group, win 2 before you lose 2.
Yep.
Easy way of doing it.
Yeah, so you can see there already that, when you're kind of looking at it, this was kind of the fun part of the Pro-Am, right? That where we last saw this was that they were teams that lost some of these first rounds that kind of got down here that you were like, whoa, they shouldn't have been here, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden it kind of becomes a lot different of a game. I think I like this format a lot just because it does kind of give you more of that tournament feel. It gives you that bracket feel where sometimes I feel like in a group stage, you can have the thing in a group stage where it's like you lost a couple of games or maybe, one or two games and you're all of a sudden like, well, now there's no way for us to even qualify. So these games that we're playing don't even matter, right? Unless it kind of like all lines up perfectly. This at least is like, hey, you just gotta, win 2 series and you don't gotta worry about it, right? It's just basically what you have to do, and that might also set you up a little bit better for seeding as well, right? So when we go through next week, this will be fun just to kind of see, where do we think people are gonna kind of make it out, and then potentially where do they seed on that top 8 bracket. But just to kind of give you guys an update on how this is gonna go ahead and break on down and why a format like this is so good, right? Because it really does, it to me, makes it kind of feel like the best team does make it out of the group, right? Because it's, if you want to make it to the bracket, then just win your games. It's very simple.
Well, also, there's a lot of people who turn around and say, like, what's wrong with the old format where all the teams would play one another? Dude, I don't want to watch 2 teams that are definitely getting bummed out of this group play one another. I don't want to see that. Like, we used to watch this all the time. We'd be like, 3rd and 4th are going to play each other in a dead rubber, and no one cares. Like, we just don't care. We want every single match to matter. In this format, it does. It is by far the best format that we get, to be honest, and I would love to see more of it. And to be honest, I'm surprised it's taken so long to really start to utilize it as much as we do. But yeah, it's a great format. Really excited for it. And then, of course, this all then feeds into a double elimination bracket and I believe a best of 7 finals. So yeah, I'm certainly down for what we've got cooking up here, because don't get me wrong, we might get some shock upsets. You said it yourself, you can do in this format, but you are going to get the best teams on the day, get themselves out of this group, and that's what we want.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of get, like you even see here just from like even just using this group as an example, right? These are solid seedings that you can see here. It's like on one side you got seed 1 versus seed 16, and the other one is seed 8 versus seed 9. So it's like, you kind of have the expected game and then obviously like a really close game when it comes to seeds that are there that I think just makes it really, really close and a lot of fun, right? To be able to see that. So it's kind of like it feels like you also get just a nice, in a traditional group format, it's like, okay, cool, we're going to seed these by like some type of reverse snake. And even when we do that, it seems fair. And you're just kind of like, wow, I ended up with the group of death because like, that's sometimes how it happens. Here, it feels a little bit like, okay, the seeding actually feels like I get a reward for what we've done, right? So in this instance, I believe it's Bush seed 1 because they are number 1 in overall pro points, right? Is I believe what it kind of comes down to is where they're sitting. So you love being able to see that. That kind of means that you've done well consistently over the course of the year. Now here's your reward when it comes champs time. You get to be overall seed. You not get to play the 16 seed, and hopefully have a easy round number 1, but we'll never say that definitively, because we've seen upsets here in Call of Duty time and time again. But at least just want to give you guys a nice little explainer on how this works. Make sure you tune in next week though for when we actually go group by group and give our thoughts on it. Obviously, like we said, there's still a lot to talk about here in Challengers, and I think this is really cool just to see these teams come out of the LCQ, all the Rostermania that happened, and also just what are we actually really looking at when it comes to Challengers champs and the bracket. We have champs next week, my friend. I'm going to ask you, this week, kind of what has you really amped up for kind of the week to come, just seeing everything that's gone on in the scene, sort of the last couple of days.
I think I'm looking forward to if I had to pick the teams that go through to champs, I'm not going to say exactly which ones right now, but I think it's like a team that we're all expecting.
Yep.
A team that's full of brand new stories that have come into this year, and I'm really excited to see what their future careers look like, because I think we're going to look back at these last couple of months and this coming month and be like, that's the moment right there we knew that they would be superstars. And then a team that is all of a sudden just on a ridiculous run. I think that they're the 3 that I say will make EWC. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And if that does play out exactly that way, that serves us up with so many incredible different ways to talk about these players and advocate for them and show them off when we get to Paris and when we get to talk about the Esports World Cup implications. I can't wait for all that.
It's going to be a time. So let us know in the comments, what roster change were you most surprised by? Which one do you think will work? Which one do you think blows up in the face of the team that tried to make it happen? And how do you feel about this GSL style format now that we're seeing it for the second time in the season? Let us know all of your thoughts and comments. We love reading every single one of them. Make sure you subscribe as well to keep up to date with everything going on, because that has been This Week in Challengers.